In a world full of surface-level stories, we go deeper. Welcome to The Depth, your destination for facts, science, history, and mysteries that shape our world. Let's begin the journey, deeper than ever before. Let's try a little experiment. Look at these words on the screen. Now, try to say the color of the ink, not the word itself. Tricky, right? This is called the Stroop effect. It's the delay in your reaction time when the name of a color, like blue, is printed in a different color, like red. Your brain gets into a mini battle with itself. The part that reads words clashes with the part that identifies colors. It's a fascinating peek into how our brains process conflicting information. So next time you're a bit slow on the uptake, just blame the Stroop effect. Speaking of things that seem unreal, what do you think is the official animal of Scotland? A lion? A stag? Maybe a Highland cow? Nope, it's the unicorn. Seriously. This mythical creature, a symbol of purity, innocence, and power, was adopted as Scotland's national animal way back in the 15th century. In Celtic mythology, unicorns were believed to be the ultimate embodiment of untamed freedom and fierce courage. So, while you might not spot one wandering the Highlands, the spirit of the unicorn is woven deep into Scotland's history and identity. How cool is that? From magical creatures to common fears, have you ever felt a bit uneasy on Friday the 13th? Or maybe you've noticed that some buildings skip the 13th floor. This fear of the number 13 actually has a name: triskaidekaphobia. Triskaideka is Greek for 13, and phobia means fear. The origins of this superstition are a bit murky, with some linking it to ancient Norse myths and others to biblical stories. Whatever the reason, this fear is so widespread that it has a real economic impact, with people avoiding travel or major decisions on that day. So, if you get a little shiver when you see the number 13, you're definitely not alone. Now, let's talk about the power of the mind. You've probably heard of the placebo effect, where a positive belief in a treatment can lead to real improvement. But have you heard of its evil twin? It's called the nocebo effect. This is when a negative expectation causes you to experience negative effects. For example, if a doctor tells you a medication might have a side effect of headaches, you might actually start to feel one, even if you were given a simple sugar pill. It's a powerful reminder that our mindset and beliefs can physically shape our reality, for better or for worse. Your brain is listening to your thoughts, so be mindful of what you're telling it. Time for a quick question. How long is a jiffy? You might think it's just a vague expression for a short moment, like, I'll be back in a jiffy. But a jiffy is an actual, defined unit of time. In physics and computer science, one jiffy is most commonly defined as 1/100th of a second. It's the time it takes for one cycle of an alternating current power source. So, the next time someone says there'll be a jiffy, you can ask them if they mean 10 milliseconds. It's a great way to sound incredibly smart and just a little bit nerdy. Let's move on to a word puzzle. What's the longest word in the English language that doesn't have a true vowel? You know, A, E, I, O, or U. Give up. The word is rhythm. R-H-Y-T-H-M. You might be thinking, but wait, what about the Y? In linguistics, Y is considered a semi-vowel, because it can act as a vowel, like in rhythm, or as a consonant, like in yellow. But since it's not one of the main five, rhythm holds this unique and fascinating title. It's a word that describes a pattern of sound, but it breaks the typical pattern of spelling. From words to numbers, here's a problem that could make you a millionaire. It's called the P versus NP problem, and it's one of the 7 most important unsolved problems in computer science. There's literally a $1 million prize for anyone who solves it. In simple terms, it asks, if the answer to a problem is easy to check for correctness, that's NP, is the problem also easy to solve, that's P? Think about a Sudoku puzzle. It's easy to check if a completed grid is correct, but it's much, much harder to solve it from scratch. Most computer scientists believe P does not equal NP, but no one has been able to prove it. If you do, you'll not only be rich, but you'll also revolutionize fields like cryptography, logistics, and artificial intelligence. Let's talk about memories. Do you remember the children's books about a family of bears? Were they called the Berenstain Bears or the Berenstein Bears? If you confidently said Berenstein with an E, you're experiencing what's known as the Mandela effect. This is a fascinating phenomenon where a large group of people collectively misremembers a specific detail or event. It's named after Nelson Mandela because many people incorrectly remembered him dying in prison in the 1980s. From movie quotes to brand logos, the Mandela effect shows just how strange and fallible our collective memory can be. It makes you wonder what else we might all be remembering wrong. Here's another word fact for you. Which word in the English language has the most definitions? If you guessed a simple, common word, you're on the right track. The answer is set. This tiny three-letter word has over 430 distinct definitions in the Oxford English Dictionary. It can be a verb, as in set the table. It can be a noun, like a set of tools. It can be an adjective, like being all set. Its versatility is incredible. It's a humble little word that does a whole lot of work in our language. What do you think is the most common lie told around the world? It's not a grand deception or a complex falsehood. It's a simple, three-word phrase. I'm fine. We say it to colleagues, friends, and family, often when we're feeling anything but fine. It's a social shortcut, a way to avoid a longer conversation, or maybe a defense mechanism to hide our vulnerability. It's a powerful reminder to check in with the people we care about, and to be honest with ourselves, too. Sometimes it's okay not to be fine. So, when you think of a country, you probably picture a vast expanse of land, right? But what if I told you the smallest country in the world is smaller than most city parks? I'm talking about Vatican City. Nestled right in the heart of Rome, this independent city-state is a mere 0.44 square kilometers, or about 110 acres. That's roughly 1/8 the size of Central Park in New York City. It's the sovereign territory of the Holy See and the home of the Pope. Despite its tiny size, it has its own post office, radio station, and even issues its own passports and license plates. It's a perfect example of how great things can come in very, very small packages. Ever felt so surprised by a question that you wanted to shout it? Like, you did what? Well, the English language actually has a special punctuation mark just for that moment. It's called the interrobang, and it looks like a question mark mashed together with an exclamation point. Picture this. It was invented back in 1962 by an advertising executive named Martin Spector, who felt that regular punctuation just didn't capture the right mix of shock and inquiry. While it never quite caught on in formal writing, you can still find it on some keyboards and in certain fonts. So next time you're typing with disbelief, you know exactly what to use. You didn't know that, did you? Now, let's venture into the world of artificial intelligence. Have you ever chatted with an online bot and wondered if you were talking to a real person? That very question is at the heart of the Turing test. Conceived by the brilliant mathematician Alan Turing in 1950, it's a test of a machine's ability to exhibit intelligent behavior that's indistinguishable from a human as. The setup is simple. A human judge engages in a natural language conversation with two other parties. One a human and the other a machine. If the judge can't reliably tell which is which, the machine is said to have passed the test. It's not about whether a machine can think, but whether it can convince us it can. As AI gets more sophisticated, the Turing test remains a crucial benchmark in our quest to create truly intelligent machines. All right, here's a fact that might make you rethink your relationship with your bed. On average, a person will spend about 25 years of their life completely asleep. 25 years. That's a quarter of a century spent dreaming, tossing, and turning. When you break it down, it's about a third of your entire existence. It sounds like a lot of wasted time, but sleep is absolutely vital. It's when our bodies repair themselves, our brains consolidate memories, and we recharge for the day ahead. So, the next time you feel guilty about hitting the snooze button, just remember, you're not being lazy. You're investing in your health and longevity. It's one of the most productive things you can do, even if you're not conscious for it. Let's rewind the clock a bit. For those of us who remember the struggle of Be Kind, Rewind, The VCR was a revolutionary piece of tech. But the very first ones weren't the sleek black boxes we remember. The first ever commercial VCR, released in the 1950s, was the size of a piano. Seriously, these early models were massive, incredibly expensive, and primarily used by television networks to record live broadcasts. It took another 2 decades of innovation to shrink the technology down into something that could fit in our living rooms. It's a powerful reminder of how far technology has come, from a piano-sized machine to streaming entire movie libraries from a device that fits in your pocket. Now for a topic that's shrouded in mystery: the dark web. You've probably heard the term thrown around in movies and TV shows, often with a sinister tone. But what is it really? The dark web is a part of the internet that isn't indexed by search engines and requires a special browser, like Tor, to access. Tor anonymizes your web traffic by bouncing it through a network of volunteer-operated servers, making your online activity very difficult to trace. It's important to distinguish it from the deep web, which is simply all the content you can't find on Google, like your private email inbox or online banking portal. The dark web is a tiny fraction of the deep web, and while it's known for hosting illicit activities, it's also used by journalists, activists, and whistleblowers in repressive regimes to communicate securely. It's a tool, and like any tool, its purpose depends entirely on who is using it. Have you ever met someone who is not very good at something, but is supremely confident that they're an expert? There's a name for that phenomenon: the Dunning-Kruger effect. It is a cognitive bias where people with low ability in a specific area tend to overestimate their own skill. The irony is that the very skills you need to be good at something are often the same skills you need to recognize your own incompetence. So, people who lack competence also lack the self-awareness to see it. On the flip side, highly competent people often underestimate their own abilities, assuming that tasks they find easy are just as easy for everyone else. It has a fascinating insight into the human psyche and a good reminder to always stay humble and open to learning. I want you to close your eyes and imagine the smell right after a fresh summer rain, especially after a long, dry spell. That earthy, clean, almost sweet scent. It's one of the most universally loved smells in the world, and it has a beautiful name: petrichor. The term was coined by 2 Australian scientists in 1964 and comes from the Greek words petra, meaning stone, and ichor, which in Greek mythology is the ethereal golden fluid that is the blood of the gods. The smell is produced when airborne oils from plants, which have accumulated on surfaces like rocks and soil, are released into the air along with a compound called geosmin, which is produced by soil bacteria. So that divine smell of rain isn't just in your head, it's a real, beautiful chemical reaction. Let's get cosmic for a second. Deep underground, on the border of France and Switzerland, lies the most powerful machine ever built by humanity: the Large Hadron Collider, or LHC. This gigantic particle accelerator is a 27-kilometer ring of superconducting magnets designed to smash particles together at incredible speeds. How fast? The LHC accelerates protons to 99.999991% of the speed of light. At that velocity, a proton circles the entire ring over 11,000 times per second. By colliding these particles, scientists at CERN can recreate the conditions that existed just moments after the Big Bang, helping us unlock the deepest secrets of the universe, like the discovery of the Higgs boson. It's a monumental feat of engineering and a testament to our insatiable curiosity. The Doomsday Clock. This isn't a physical clock but a symbol created by the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists in 1947. It represents how close humanity is to a global catastrophe of our own making, with midnight signifying the apocalypse. The clock's time is set each year by a board of scientists and policy experts considering threats like nuclear risks and climate change. It started at 7 minutes to midnight. The furthest it's ever been was 17 minutes in 1991, after the Cold War ended. As of early 2024, it is set at 90 seconds to midnight, the closest it has ever been. The Doomsday Clock isn't a prediction, it's a warning. It's a stark, powerful reminder of our shared responsibility to pull the world back from the brink. You've probably heard of the Enigma machine, the super-complex cipher device used by Nazi Germany. It was considered unbreakable, a key to their military strategy. But it met its match in Alan Turing and his brilliant team at Bletchley Park. Their work in cracking the Enigma code is credited with shortening the war by years and saving millions of lives. It was a monumental intellectual victory that changed the course of history. Now, let's switch from war to art. When do you think the first color photograph was taken? The 1950s? The 30s? Try 1861. A Scottish physicist named James Clerk Maxwell created the first ever durable color photograph. And what was the subject of this groundbreaking image? A simple tartan ribbon. He used a process of taking 3 separate black and white photos through red, green, and blue filters, then projecting them together to create a full-color image. It was the very beginning of the colorful world we capture so easily today, from the visible world to the cosmic dance of the universe. Ever heard of the 3-body problem? It sounds simple, but it's one of the most notoriously difficult problems in physics. We can perfectly predict the motion of 2 celestial bodies orbiting each other, like the Earth and the Moon. But add just one more body, say the Sun, and the system becomes chaotic and unpredictable over the long term. There's no single general formula to solve it, which means predicting the exact future of these systems is famously and frustratingly impossible. It's a humble reminder that even with all our knowledge, the universe still holds deep mysteries. Speaking of mysteries, let's get into the beautiful world of mathematics with the Mandelbrot set. It's not just a bunch of numbers, it's a shape, a fractal, that is infinitely complex. When you zoom into its edges, you don't find a smooth line. Instead, you find smaller, intricate copies of the whole set, repeating forever. It's a visual representation of chaos theory, a stunning, never-ending pattern generated from a very simple mathematical equation. It proves that infinite beauty and complexity can arise from the simplest of rules, from the infinitely small to the unimaginably powerful. Let's talk about the Tsar Bomba. Detonated by the Soviet Union in 1961, it remains the most powerful nuclear weapon ever tested. The sheer scale of this explosion is hard to comprehend. It was over 3,000 times more powerful than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima. The shockwave was so immense that it shattered windows in cities over 560 miles, or 900 kilometers, away. That's like setting off a bomb in London and breaking windows in Zurich, Switzerland. It was a terrifying demonstration of human destructive capability. Now, for a mystery from the stars. In 1977, an astronomer working with the Big Ear radio telescope detected a powerful, narrow-band radio signal coming from the direction of the constellation Sagittarius. The signal was so unusual and strong that the astronomer, Jerry Amon, circled it on the printout and wrote, "Wow," next to it. The "Wow" signal lasted for 72 seconds and has never been detected again. Its origin remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in astronomy. Was it a natural phenomenon or something more? We still don't know. Let's clear up a common misconception. When you hear the term light year, what do you think of? Time, right? It sounds like a measurement of duration. But a light year is actually a measure of distance. It's the distance that light, the fastest thing in the universe, travels in 1 year. That's about 588 trillion miles, or 9.46 trillion kilometers. So when we say a star is 10 light years away, it means the light we see from it tonight started its journey a decade ago. It's a way of measuring the vast, almost incomprehensible distances of space. Let's travel back in time, not light years, but centuries, to the Islamic Golden Age. At the heart of this incredible period of scientific and cultural advancement was the House of Wisdom in Baghdad. Established in the 8th century, it wasn't just a library. It was a massive intellectual center. Scholars from all over the world gathered there to translate, study, and expand upon knowledge from Greece, India, and Persia. They made groundbreaking advances in medicine, mathematics, astronomy, and philosophy, preserving ancient wisdom and laying the groundwork for the European Renaissance. Now let's tackle a legendary mystery: the Bermuda Triangle. This patch of the Atlantic Ocean has a fearsome reputation for swallowing ships and planes without a trace. But here's the official word. The U.S. Navy and the U.S. Board on Geographic Names do not recognize the running Bermuda Triangle as an official region or a unique threat. The area experiences high traffic and volatile weather, like hurricanes, which can explain many of the disappearances. In reality, the number of incidents within the triangle is not significantly higher than in any other heavily traveled part of the ocean. The legend, it seems, is more powerful than the reality. We've all heard of the KGB, the infamous secret police of the Soviet Union. But did you know they had a whole department dedicated to what they called active measures? This wasn't just about gathering intelligence. This was about political warfare. Their job was to spread disinformation, forge documents, and manipulate global events to favor the Soviet Union. They were masters of creating chaos and confusion, planting fake stories in the media, and influencing foreign elections. Think of it as a state-sponsored campaign of fake news on a massive scale, long before the internet even existed. They expertly blurred the lines between fact and fiction, making it nearly impossible for their adversaries to know what was real. It's a chilling reminder of how powerful information and disinformation can be in shaping our world. From secret plots, we turn to a secret project that changed the course of history forever, the Manhattan Project. This wasn't a real estate development in New York City. It was the top-secret code name for the American-led research and development undertaking during World War II that produced the first nuclear weapons. Imagine the secrecy involved. Thousands of scientists, engineers, and technicians were brought together in hidden facilities across the country, like Los Alamos, New Mexico, working on a device with unimaginable power. Many of them didn't even know the full scope of what they were creating until the very end. This monumental effort harnessed the power of the atom, culminating in the atomic bombs that were used on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, effectively ending the war but ushering in the atomic age and the Cold War that followed. It stands as one of the most significant and morally complex scientific achievements in human history. Now, for something completely different. When you hear the words Kama Sutra, what comes to mind? For most people, it's a book of exotic, acrobatic positions. But the reality of this ancient Sanskrit text is far more profound and, frankly, less scandalous. The Kama Sutra was originally written as a comprehensive guide for a Nagarak, which translates to a wealthy, sophisticated urban man, on how to live a well-rounded and virtuous life. Yes, it discusses love and physical intimacy, but that's just one part of it. It also covers topics like acquiring knowledge, managing finances, finding a suitable partner, and maintaining social graces. It was essentially a manual for achieving dharma, artha, and kama, religious duty, worldly prosperity, and pleasure, in a balanced way. So, the next time someone mentions it, you can share that it's less of a spicy manual and more of a holistic lifestyle guide from ancient India. Let's zoom out to a massive scale and talk about empires. We all know about the Roman Empire and the British Empire, but which one was the largest contiguous land empire in history? The answer is the Mongol Empire. In the 13th and 14th centuries, under the leadership of Genghis Khan and his successors, the Mongol horsemen conquered a staggering amount of territory. At its peak, the empire stretched from the Pacific Ocean all the way to Eastern Europe, covering about 9 million square miles. That's an area larger than the entire continent of Africa. They connected the East and West like never before, creating what was known as the Pax Mongolica, or Mongol Peace. This period of stability allowed for the flourishing of trade and communication along the Silk Road, leading to a massive exchange of goods, technologies, and ideas between different cultures. It was a brutal but transformative force in world history. History is filled with what-if moments, and one of the most tragic is the story of the SS Californian. We all know the heartbreaking tale of the Titanic, the unsinkable ship that struck an iceberg and sank on its maiden voyage in 1912. But what many people do not know is that another ship was incredibly close by. The SS Californian was a steamship that had stopped for the night because of the very same ice field. It was estimated to be only 10 to 20 miles away from the Titanic. The crew of the Californian saw the distress rockets fired by the Titanic but failed to understand their meaning. Their wireless operator had already signed off for the night and didn't hear the frantic SOS calls. Had they responded, they could have reached the Titanic before it sank and potentially saved hundreds, if not all, of the more than 1,500 people who perished in the freezing water. It's a haunting example of how a series of small miscommunications led to a monumental disaster. Staying with World War II deceptions, let's talk about a story so brilliant it sounds like it came straight out of a spy movie, Operation Mincemeat, also known as The Man Who Never Was. In 1943, the Allies were planning to invade Sicily, but they needed to trick the Germans into thinking they were going to invade Greece instead. So, British intelligence came up with a daring plan. They obtained the body of a deceased man, dressed him as a Royal Marine officer, and gave him a new identity. They chained a briefcase to his wrist containing fake top-secret documents detailing the fictional invasion plan for Greece. Then, they released the body from a submarine off the coast of Spain, knowing the neutral but pro-Axis Spanish authorities would find it and pass the information to the Germans. The deception worked perfectly. Hitler moved his troops to Greece, leaving Sicily lightly defended. The real invasion was a success, saving thousands of Allied lives, all thanks to a man who never was. Let's move from historical intrigue to something you've probably seen 100 times without knowing its name. You know that metallic slidey thing in shoe stores that they use to measure your feet? It's not just a foot measurer. It has a proper name, the Brannock device. It was invented in 1925 by Charles F. Brannock. He worked in his father's shoe store and realized there had to be a more accurate way to get a proper fit. His invention measures three things precisely: the overall length of the foot from heel to toe, the width, and the arch length, which is the distance from the heel to the ball of the foot. This last measurement is crucial for ensuring the shoe flexes correctly with your foot. So next time you're trying on new shoes, and the salesperson pulls out that familiar tool, you can casually say, "Ah, the Brannock device," and sound like a true footwear connoisseur. Now let's turn our attention to the incredible machine that is the human body, starting with our own 2 feet. Have you ever thought about how much walking you do in your lifetime? The numbers are staggering. The average person who lives to be about 80 years old will walk approximately 110,000 miles. To put that into perspective, the circumference of the Earth at the equator is about 24,901 miles. This means that over the course of your life, you will walk the equivalent of circling the globe more than 4 times, and for many people, it's closer to 5 times. Every trip to the grocery store, every walk in the park, every step you take adds up to this incredible journey. It's a powerful testament to our endurance and mobility, and a great reason to invest in a good pair of shoes, measured with a Brannock device, of course. From walking to driving, let's look at an invention that organizes our daily commutes. Can you imagine a busy intersection without traffic lights? It would be pure chaos. The very first electric traffic light was installed on the corner of East 105th Street and Euclid Avenue in Cleveland, Ohio, on August 5, 1914. It was designed by James Hoge and wasn't quite what we're used to today. It had only 2 colors, red and green, and it made a buzzing sound to warn when the signal was about to change. A police officer was still required to be in a booth nearby to operate it. Before this, traffic control was handled by police officers manually, which was inefficient and dangerous. This simple invention revolutionized urban planning and road safety, paving the way for the complex automated traffic systems that keep our cities moving today. We know the body is complex, but the scale is hard to comprehend. If you were to take all the blood vessels in an average adult, the arteries, veins, and tiny capillaries, and lay them out in a single line, how long do you think that line would be? A few miles? A few hundred miles? The answer is over 60,000 miles, which is more than 96,000 kilometers. That's long enough to circle the Earth more than twice. Most of this length comes from the trillions of microscopic capillaries that reach every single cell in your body, delivering oxygen and nutrients and carrying away waste. It's an absolutely mind-boggling internal highway system, all packed inside you right now. It really makes you appreciate the incredible, intricate design of the human body. We all know words can be tricky, But have you ever wondered which word in the English language is the most complex? If you guessed something long and scientific, you're on the right track, but the real champion is a tiny three-letter word: set. That's right, set. According to the Oxford English Dictionary, this simple word has the most definitions of any word in the English language, with over 430 distinct senses and meanings. You can set a table, set a record, set a price, be all set to go, or have a set of tools. It's a verb, a noun, and an adjective. Its versatility is absolutely staggering. It just goes to show that sometimes the biggest complexities come in the smallest packages. Speaking of small things with huge complexity, let's talk about language again. But this time, let's get ridiculously long. Have you ever heard of the word flocconocini-hilipilification? Go on, try to say it. It sounds like a made-up magical spell, but it's a real word. It's one of the longest words in the English dictionary, and its meaning is beautifully ironic. Flocconocini-hilipilification is the act of estimating or describing something as worthless or trivial. So, the very act of using this long, complicated word is, in itself, a bit of an exercise in futility, making it a perfect example of what it describes. It's a word that's almost useless in everyday conversation, which is exactly the point. Language truly has a sense of humor, doesn't it? Now, let's leave the world of words and venture into the natural kingdom, where things get even stranger and more incredible. Imagine something thinner than a single strand of your hair. Now imagine that same strand is 5 times stronger than steel of the same weight. What are we talking about? Spider silk. This material is a true marvel of natural engineering. Spiders produce this protein-based fiber to build webs, catch prey, and protect their young. Scientists have been studying it for years, hoping to replicate its properties for everything from bulletproof vests to medical sutures. It's flexible, lightweight, and unbelievably strong. The next time you walk through a spider web by mistake, instead of just being annoyed, take a second to appreciate that you just tangled with one of the most high-performance materials on the planet. Sticking with the small but mighty theme, let's consider the humble ant. You see them everywhere, marching in lines, carrying crumbs many times their own weight. They seem so insignificant individually, but what if I told you that their collective power is monumental? Scientists have estimated that the total biomass, that is, the total weight, of all the ants on Earth is roughly equal to or even greater than the total weight of all humans. Let that sink in. For every one of us, there's a corresponding mass of ants crawling around. There are quadrillions of them, living in complex societies on every continent except Antarctica. They are masters of cooperation and have a massive impact on their ecosystems, aerating soil, dispersing seeds, and cleaning up organic waste. It's a humbling reminder that we share this planet with a vast, hidden empire. From the land, let's plunge into the ocean's depths to meet a creature that seems like it came straight out of a science fiction movie: the octopus. These intelligent, mysterious animals defy many of our expectations about life on Earth. For starters, an octopus has not 1, not 2, but 3 hearts. 2 hearts work to pump blood through its gills, while a third, larger heart circulates blood to the rest of the body. And that blood isn't red like ours, it's blue. This is because their blood uses a copper-based protein called hemocyanin to transport oxygen, whereas our blood uses iron-based hemoglobin. This adaptation helps them survive in the cold, low-oxygen environments of the deep sea. So, the next time you see an octopus, remember you're looking at a blue-blooded, 3-hearted alien of our own world. And now, for our fellow mammals. If you're a cat owner, you know the comforting sound and feel of a cat's purr. It's a sign of contentment, a soothing rumble that can make any bad day better. But what if that purr was more than just a happy sound? Research has shown that a cat's purr is a powerful healing mechanism. The vibrations occur at a frequency between 25 and 150 Hz. Studies have shown that frequencies in this range can promote bone density, reduce pain and swelling, and even help heal wounds and repair muscles. This might explain the old veterinary saying that if you put a cat and a bunch of broken bones in the same room, the bones will heal. That purr isn't just for them. It might be helping you too. It's a built-in therapeutic device, making our feline friends even more amazing. Let's shift gears from biology to history and human achievement. We often think of our current era as the pinnacle of knowledge and information, with the internet at our fingertips. But centuries ago, in the heart of modern-day Iraq, there was a place that was the undisputed center of the intellectual world. I'm talking about the House of Wisdom in Baghdad. Established in the 9th century during the Islamic Golden Age, this wasn't just a library, it was a grand academy, a translation center, and a research hub that drew scholars from all over the world. They gathered, translated, and built upon the knowledge of the Greeks, Persians, and Indians, making groundbreaking advances in mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and philosophy. It was here that algebra was developed and our modern number system was popularized. The House of Wisdom was a beacon of light and learning that preserved ancient knowledge and ignited a flame of discovery that would eventually fuel the European Renaissance. From a real place of wonder, let's talk about a place that's more myth than reality: the Bermuda Triangle. You've heard the stories, the mysterious patch of ocean where ships and planes supposedly vanish without a trace. It's been blamed on everything from alien abductions to rips in space-time. But here's the fact that might surprise you. The Bermuda Triangle, also known as the Devil's Triangle, isn't recognized as a real place or a genuine threat by official bodies. The U.S. Navy and the U.S. Board on Geographic Names do not recognize it as an official region. Investigations have shown that the number of disappearances in that area is not significantly higher than in any other heavily trafficked part of the ocean. Many of the famous incidents have been exaggerated or had logical explanations, like severe weather or human error, that were simply ignored in favor of a more sensational story. What's the most you'd ever consider paying for a bottle of wine? $100? $1,000? Well, how about $160,000? Ah, that's the price the most expensive single bottle of wine ever sold at auction fetched. It was a 1787 bottle of Chateau Lafite, and what made it so special wasn't just its age. Etched into the glass were the initials, the J. It was believed to have belonged to none other than Thomas Jefferson, one of America's founding fathers and a renowned wine connoisseur. While its authenticity was later debated, the sale set a world record and became a legendary tale in the world of fine wine. We've all seen the movies and read the stories. The Greeks build a giant horse, hide soldiers inside, and trick the Trojans into bringing it into their city. It's the ultimate deception story. But what if I told you the whole horse thing was probably just a poetic misunderstanding? Most historians now believe the Trojan horse wasn't a giant animal sculpture at all. It was likely a battering ram or a siege tower, possibly covered with wet horsehides to protect it from flaming arrows. These machines were sometimes given animal names, so the epic tale might have just been a really creative description of ancient military hardware. Sorry to burst that bubble, but the real story is just as clever. Speaking of clever deceptions, let's jump forward a few thousand years to the Cold War. You've heard of the KGB, the infamous Soviet secret police. But did you know they had a whole department, Department D, dedicated to something called active measures? This wasn't about spying in the traditional sense. It was about political warfare. Their job was to spread disinformation, forge documents, and plant fake news stories in foreign media to manipulate public opinion, discredit enemies, and sow chaos in Western countries. They were masters of psychological warfare, creating elaborate hoaxes and conspiracy theories to weaken their rivals from the inside out. It was a war fought not with guns, but with lies and propaganda, and its effects are still being debated today. Now, let's talk about a code name that changed the world forever: the Manhattan Project. It sounds like a real estate development in New York, right? In reality, it was the top-secret code name for one of the most significant and terrifying undertakings in human history: the American-led project to develop the first atomic bomb during World War II. It brought together the brightest scientific minds of the era, working in hidden laboratories across the country, from Los Alamos, New Mexico, to Oak Ridge, Tennessee. The secrecy was so intense that many of the tens of thousands of people working on the project had no idea what they were actually building until the bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It's a chilling reminder of how a simple, unassuming name can hide a project with the power to reshape global politics and warfare, from world-changing secrets to personal ones. When you hear Kama Sutra, what comes to mind? For most people, it's a manual of exotic, acrobatic positions. But that's a huge misconception. The original Kama Sutra, written in ancient India, was much, much more than that. It was primarily a guide for wealthy, urbane men on how to live a well-rounded, virtuous, and pleasurable life. Yes, it discusses physical intimacy, but that's only one of its 7 sections. It also covers topics like acquiring knowledge, making money, finding a spouse, using perfumes, and furnishing your home. It was essentially an ancient guide to being a sophisticated gentleman. The popular image we have today is like judging the entire internet based on one website. Let's shift gears from personal life to global domination. Can you name the largest contiguous land empire in history? It wasn't the Romans, the Persians, or the British. It was the Mongol Empire. In the 13th and 14th centuries, under the leadership of Genghis Khan and his descendants, this empire stretched from the Pacific Ocean all the way to Eastern Europe. At its peak, it covered over 9 million square miles, connecting the East and the West like never before. They were renowned for their military prowess, but they also established the Pax Mongolica, or Mongol Peace, which facilitated trade, communication, and the exchange of ideas across the vast Silk Road. It's an empire of staggering scale that literally reshaped the map of the world. Now for a story of a single night that has haunted history for over a century: the sinking of the Titanic. We all know the tragic story of the unsinkable ship hitting an iceberg, but there's a forgotten, infuriating side to this tragedy. Just 10 to 20 miles away, another ship, the SS Californian, saw the Titanic's distress flares. The crew of the Californian saw the white rockets being fired, but their captain, who had been woken up, dismissed them. He had ordered his ship to stop for the night because of the same ice field that doomed the Titanic. They were so close that they could have potentially saved hundreds, if not all, of the people who perished in the icy water. Instead, they did nothing until morning, becoming a permanent and chilling footnote in the world's most famous maritime disaster. Our next story sounds like it was ripped straight from a spy movie, but it's completely real. It's the story of the man who never was. During World War II, British intelligence needed to convince the Germans that the Allies were going to invade Greece and Sardinia, not Sicily, their real target. So they hatched a brilliant and morbid plan called Operation Mincemeat. They took the body of a deceased homeless man, gave him a fake identity as a Royal Marine officer named Major William Martin, chained a briefcase full of fake, top-secret invasion plans to his wrist, and dropped the body off the coast of Spain, where they knew pro-German officials would find it. The Germans bought the deception hook, line, and sinker. They moved Jehovah troops to Greece, leaving Sicily vulnerable. This single, elaborate hoax saved thousands of Allied lives and was crucial to the success of the invasion of Italy. Let's move from a fake man to something very real that you've probably all used: the Brannock device. You know, that metallic, slidey thing in shoe stores that they use to measure your feet. That has a name. It was invented in 1927 by Charles F. Brannock. He was frustrated with the inaccurate methods of shoe fitting, so he tinkered with an erector set and came up with the iconic device that measures not just the length of your foot, but also the arch length and the width, giving a much more accurate fit. It's one of those inventions that's so simple, so effective, and so ubiquitous that we never even think to ask what it's called. So next time you're getting your feet measured, you can impress the salesperson and say, "Ah, the old Brannock device." Now for a psychological trick your own mind plays on you. Have you ever been told that if someone believes in you, you're more likely to succeed? That's not just a feel-good platitude. It's a documented psychological phenomenon called the Pygmalion effect, or the Rosenthal effect. It's the idea that our performance is heavily influenced by the expectations others have of us. In a famous experiment, teachers were told that certain average students were academic bloomers who were expected to show a sudden leap in intelligence. And guess what? Those randomly selected students actually did show significant IQ gains by the end of the year, simply because their teachers' higher expectations led them to unconsciously treat those students differently, with more encouragement, attention, and support. It shows that our beliefs about others can literally become self-fulfilling prophecies. I want you to stare at a single, fixed point on your screen. Don't move your eyes. While you're staring, pay attention to the things in your peripheral vision, the edges of your screen, the objects on your desk. You might notice something strange happening. Those objects will start to fade, maybe even disappear completely, replaced by a uniform background. What you're experiencing is the Troxler effect. Your brain is incredibly efficient. When you have a constant, unchanging stimulus in your peripheral vision, your neurons basically say, "Okay, I've seen this, it's not a threat, it's not changing," and they stop paying attention to it to save energy. It's a fascinating neurological quirk that shows how our brains are constantly filtering reality, deciding what's important enough for us to consciously perceive. It's a built-in fade-out effect for things your brain deems unimportant. When you first learn about something, your brain subconsciously starts looking for it. It's not that the thing has suddenly become more common, it's that your awareness is now tuned to it. Your brain loves patterns, and once it identifies a new one, it gets a little kick out of spotting it again and again. It's a combination of selective attention and confirmation bias. You notice it, and then you confirm to yourself, "Wow, there it is again." It's a simple, yet powerful example of how our perception shapes our reality. Next up, imagine you're at a loud, crowded party. Music is blasting. People are laughing. Dozens of conversations are happening at once. Yet, somehow, you can tune all of that out and focus on the person you're talking to. Even more amazing, if someone across the room mentions your name, your ears instantly perk up. This is the cocktail party effect. It asks your brain, incredible ability to selectively attend to a specific stimulus while filtering out a sea of others. It's like having a superpower for focus. Neuroscientists believe it's a crucial survival mechanism, allowing us to pick out important sounds, like a warning shout or our name being called, from a noisy environment. Your brain is a master sound engineer, constantly adjusting the levels to help you navigate the world. Now, let's explore something a bit more mysterious: the phantom limb sensation. This is a profound phenomenon experienced by people who have had a limb amputated. They can still feel sensations, like an itch, a cramp, or even intense pain in the arm or leg that is no longer there. How is this possible? It's because the brain has a map of the entire body, called a cortical homunculus. Even when a limb is gone, its representation in the brain remains. The nerve endings at the site of the amputation can send mixed signals, and the brain interprets these signals as if they're coming from the missing limb. It's a powerful and sometimes painful reminder that our experience of our body is constructed entirely within our minds. Have you ever had a gut feeling about something? Or felt butterflies in your stomach when you were nervous? That's not just a saying. It's a real biological process known as the gut-brain axis. Your brain and your digestive system are in constant communication. This isn't a one-way street, it's a two-way biochemical superhighway. Your gut is lined with millions of nerve cells, so many that it's sometimes called the second brain. Stress and anxiety in your brain can trigger digestive issues, and conversely, the health of your gut microbiome can directly influence your mood and mental state. So, when people say, "trust your gut," they're tapping into a deep physiological connection between your mind and your body. Speaking of gut feelings, let's talk about fear. That sudden jolt when a car swerves in front of you, or the racing heart you get before a big presentation. You can thank your amygdala for that. The amygdala is a small, almond-shaped set of neurons deep inside your brain, and it acts as your personal alarm system. It's the brain's fear center, responsible for processing threats and triggering the fight or flight response. It scans everything you see and hear, and if it detects danger, it instantly floods your body with adrenaline and cortisol, preparing you to either confront the threat or run away from it. While this was essential for our ancestors facing predators, in the modern world it can sometimes be overactive, contributing to anxiety disorders, It's a primal part of our brain that's still very much in the driver's seat. Now let's shift from individual experience to group dynamics with the bystander effect. It's a chilling psychological phenomenon where the more people who witness an emergency, the less likely it is that any one of them will help. You might think more people means more help, but it's the opposite. People often assume someone else will intervene, a phenomenon called diffusion of responsibility. They might also look to others to gauge how serious the situation is. If no one else is reacting, they assume it must not be a real emergency. This is why, if you're ever in trouble and need help, it's best to single someone out directly. Point to a person and say, "You, in the blue shirt, call for help." This breaks the bystander effect and assigns direct responsibility. Here's a weird one. Do you remember the children's books, the Berenstain Bears? Or is it the Berenstain Bears? If you confidently remember it with an EIN, you've experienced the Mandela effect. This is a fascinating form of collective false memory, where a large group of people misremembers the same detail or event. It's named after Nelson Mandela because many people falsely remembered him dying in prison in the 1980s, when he was actually released in 1990 and lived until 2013. Other examples include people remembering a Curious George with a tail, or Darth Vader saying, "Luke, I am your father." The actual line is, "No, I am your father." Why does this happen? Theories range from alternate universes to the simple fallibility of human memory, which can be easily influenced and reconstructed over time. Our memories are more fragile than we think. German psychologist Hermann Ebbinghaus demonstrated this with his forgetting curve. His research showed that we forget new information at an incredibly rapid rate. Within just 1 hour of learning something new, we typically forget about 50% of it. After 24 hours, that number jumps to around 70%. The curve shows that to combat this natural forgetting process, we need to revisit and reinforce information at specific intervals. This is the principle behind spaced repetition, a powerful learning technique. So, the next time you're studying for an exam, don't just cram. Review the material after an hour, then a day, then a week. You'll be working with your brain's natural rhythm, not against it. Let's move on to the power of expectations with the Pygmalion effect. This is the idea that higher expectations placed upon people lead to an increase in their performance. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If a teacher believes a student is highly capable, they may unconsciously give that student more attention, more challenging assignments, and more encouragement. In turn, the student rises to meet those expectations, performing better than they might have otherwise. The reverse is also true, known as the golem effect, where low expectations lead to worse performance. This shows just how much our beliefs about others can shape their reality. The expectations we set for our friends, children, and colleagues can have a real, tangible impact on their success. I'm going to say a word, and I want you to say the color of the ink it's printed in, not the word itself. Ready? If you saw the word blue written in red ink, your first instinct might be to say blue, but the correct answer is red. That hesitation or mistake you might make is called the Stroop effect. It demonstrates the interference that occurs in your brain when it has to process two conflicting pieces of information at once, the meaning of the word and the color of the word. Reading is such an automatic process for most adults that it's hard to suppress. Your brain wants to read the word, but the task requires you to name the color, creating a mental traffic jam. It's a simple but brilliant test that reveals the complex and often competing processes happening in our minds every second. Imagine listening to your favorite song, and instead of just hearing the music, you see a spectacular light show of colors dancing in front of your eyes. Or maybe when you taste a strawberry, you can physically feel a smooth, spherical shape in your hands. This isn't imagination. It's a real neurological condition called synesthesia. It's when your brain's wiring gets a little creative, and stimulating one sense automatically triggers an experience in a completely different, unrelated sense. People with synesthesia might see colors for letters or numbers, taste words, or feel sounds. It's a beautiful reminder that our perception of reality is incredibly unique and individually wired. It's not a disorder, but a different way of experiencing the world. How cool is that? Now, let's talk about something we all do, or at least try to do. Sleep. We spend about a third of our lives doing it, but what happens when we close our eyes? You've probably heard of REM sleep, which stands for rapid eye movement. This is the main stage for our wildest, most vivid, and often most bizarre dreams. During REM, your brain activity actually looks a lot like it does when you're awake. Your eyes dart back and forth behind your eyelids, your breathing becomes irregular, and your heart rate increases. But thankfully, your body has a clever safety mechanism. Your brainstem sends signals to paralyze your voluntary muscles, which is why you don't physically act out that dream where you're flying over a city made of cheese. It's your brain's own virtual reality experience, complete with a safety harness. So, what tells us when to go to sleep and when to wake up? It's not just about the sun going down. You have a master clock inside you called the circadian rhythm. Think of it as a 24-hour internal schedule that your body follows. This rhythm controls your sleep-wake cycle, but it also influences your hormones, your body temperature, and even your appetite. Ever felt that mid-afternoon slump? You can probably thank your circadian rhythm for that dip in alertness. When this rhythm gets disrupted, say from jet lag or pulling an all-nighter, you feel out of sorts because your entire internal system is out of sync. It's a powerful, ancient rhythm that connects us to the daily cycle of our planet. And who's the conductor of this sleepy orchestra? A tiny, pine cone-shaped gland deep inside your brain called the pineal gland. Its main job is to produce melatonin, often called the hormone of darkness. When it gets dark outside, your eyes send a signal to your brain, telling the pineal gland to start releasing melatonin. This makes you feel drowsy and ready for bed. This is why looking at bright screens from your phone or laptop late at night can mess with your sleep. The blue light tricks your brain into thinking it's still daytime, suppressing melatonin production and making it harder to drift off. So, your little pineal gland is working hard every night to help you get the rest you need. All right, let's move from the brain's sleepy side to its coordinator-in-chief. Pat the back of your head, just above your neck. Deep inside there, you have the cerebellum. Its name is Latin for little brain, and that's a perfect description. While the main part of your brain, the cerebrum, handles conscious thought, the cerebellum is the master of coordination. Every time you walk without falling, catch a ball, or even speak a clear sentence, you have your cerebellum to thank. It fine-tunes all your voluntary movements, ensuring they are smooth, balanced, and precise. It works so automatically that you never have to think about it. It's the silent, incredibly efficient co-pilot that makes physical grace possible. Now, we all know we have two sides to our brain, a left hemisphere and a right hemisphere, each specializing in different tasks. But how do they talk to each other? How does the creative, artistic right brain communicate with the logical, analytical left brain? They communicate through a superhighway of nerve fibers called the corpus callosum. This massive bundle, containing hundreds of millions of nerve axons, acts as a bridge, allowing both hemispheres to share information and work together seamlessly. Without it, your two brain halves would be working in isolation. The corpus callosum is the ultimate symbol of teamwork, ensuring your brain functions as a unified, integrated whole. Let S move down from the brain and talk about a word we hear all the time: stress. When you're feeling stressed, whether it's from a looming deadline or getting stuck in traffic, your body goes into high alert. This response is managed by your adrenal glands, which sit on top of your kidneys. They release a cocktail of hormones, most famously cortisol, the stress hormone. In the short term, cortisol is a lifesaver. It sharpens your focus, boosts your energy, and prepares your body for a fight-or-flight response. But when we're chronically stressed, cortisol levels stay high, which can lead to a whole host of problems. So those little adrenal glands are constantly reacting to your world, for better or for worse. Next up is an organ you might not think about much: the spleen. Tucked away on the left side of your abdomen, the spleen is like your body's ultimate quality control center and recycling plant for blood. Its main job is to filter your blood. As blood flows through it, the spleen identifies and removes old, damaged red blood cells. But it doesn't just throw them away. It recycles the valuable iron from these old cells, sending it back to your bone marrow to be used in making new red blood cells. The spleen is also a key part of your immune system, storing white blood cells and helping to fight off infections. It's an unsung hero of your circulatory system. For decades, this next body part was considered completely useless, a leftover from our evolutionary past that only caused trouble. I'm talking about the appendix. For a long time, the only thing we knew about it was that it could get inflamed and require emergency surgery. But recent research has given the appendix a new reputation. Scientists now believe it acts as a safe house for the good bacteria that live in your gut. When you get sick with something that flushes out your digestive system, the appendix can shelter a sample of this good bacteria, allowing it to repopulate your gut afterward and restore healthy digestion. So, far from being useless, your appendix might just be the guardian of your gut health. Finally, let's talk about that little dangly thing at the back of your throat. Now, let's talk about that little dangly thing at the back of your throat. Yes, that hanging ball. It has a name, the uvula. What on earth is it for? Well, it has a couple of important jobs. First, it's incredibly flexible and helps produce certain sounds in speech for various languages. It can move to close off the passage to your nasal cavity, directing air and sound out of your mouth. Second, it's super sensitive and plays a role in your gag reflex. If something too large touches it on the way down, it triggers that reflex to prevent you from choking. It also helps guide food and drink down your throat. So, that strange-looking little thing is actually a multifunctional gatekeeper for your airway and a helper in communication. See that little vertical groove between the base of your nose and your upper lip? That has a name. It's called the philtrum. Isn't it funny how we see these things our whole lives without knowing what they're called? Okay, now look down at your hands. See that white crescent-shaped area at the base of your fingernail? That's not just a random white spot, it's called the lunula, which means little moon in Latin. Pretty fitting, right? Each lunula can look different, and sometimes they're more visible on your thumbs. Let's go back to the face. Find the spot right between your eyebrows, above your nose. That smooth, usually hairless patch of skin? That's your glabella. It's the spot people often touch when they're thinking deeply, or the part that crinkles when you furrow your brow. So next time you see someone doing that, you can think, ah, their glabella is hard at work. Philtrum, lunula, glabella. You've already learned 3 new terms to impress your friends with. Now, let's venture deeper into the most complex and incredible organ we possess, the brain. This is where the real magic happens. We're going to start at the back. Way at the back of your head is a region called the occipital lobe. Think of it as your brain's personal movie theater. Everything you see, the colors of a sunset, the words on this screen, the face of a loved one, is processed right there. It takes the raw data from your eyes and turns it into the rich visual world you experience. Without your occipital lobe, you'd be living in the dark. Moving forward, we arrive at the brain's VIP section, the command center, the CEO of you, the frontal lobe. Located, as you might guess, at the front of your head, behind your forehead, this lobe is what makes you, you. It's responsible for your personality, your decision-making, your ability to plan for the future, and to solve complex problems. It's the part of you that says, maybe eating that entire cake in one sitting isn't the best idea. It's our brain's control panel, managing our highest cognitive functions. Within this amazing frontal lobe, there are specialized zones. One of the most famous is Broca's area. If you're able to speak, to form words and sentences and tell a story, you have your Broca's area to thank. It's like the speech production factory of your brain. It takes your thoughts and translates them into a coordinated sequence of muscle movements in your mouth, tongue, and larynx to produce spoken language. Damage to this area can lead to a condition where a person knows what they want to say, but can't physically get the words out. But what's the point of speaking if no one can understand? That's where our next stop comes in. Wernicke's area. Typically located in the temporal lobe, just behind your ear, Wernicke's area is the brain's language comprehension department. When you hear someone speak or read a sentence, this region processes the sounds and symbols and gives them meaning. Broca's area helps you talk, and Wernicke's area helps you understand the talk. They work together as a dynamic duo for communication. Think about it. Right now, my Broca's area is working to speak these words, and your Wernicke's area is working to understand them. It's a beautiful neurological dance. Now, let's dive even deeper, to the more ancient, primal parts of the brain. Meet the hypothalamus. It might be small, but it's incredibly mighty. Tucked away deep inside, the hypothalamus is your body's smart home hub. It links your nervous system to your endocrine system, which controls hormones. It's the boss of your basic survival urges. Feeling hungry? That's your hypothalamus. Thirsty? Hypothalamus again. Feeling too hot or too cold? It's your hypothalamus working to regulate your body temperature. It's the unsung hero that keeps your internal environment stable and your body running smoothly day in and day out. Right next door to the hypothalamus is another crucial structure, the thalamus. If the hypothalamus is the smart hub, the thalamus is the grand central station of your brain. Almost all the sensory information from your body, everything you see, hear, taste, and touch, passes through the thalamus before being routed to the correct destination in the brain for processing. It acts as a relay station, sorting through the flood of incoming signals and deciding what's important enough to be sent up to the cerebral cortex for conscious awareness. It's a gatekeeper, filtering out the noise so you can focus on what matters. Now, let's talk about habits. Ever wonder how you can ride a bike, type on a keyboard, or drive a car without consciously thinking about every single movement? You can thank your basal ganglia for that. These are a cluster of structures deep within the brain that are central to what's called procedural learning and habit formation. When you first learn a new skill, you have to think about it intensely. But as you practice, the basal ganglia take over, automating the process. It's like your brain's autopilot system. It helps you perform those complex ingrained routines, freeing up your conscious mind to think about other things, like what you're going to have for dinner, or what fascinating YouTube video you'll watch next. So, from the little groove on your lip to the habit-forming centers deep in your brain, our bodies are filled with these incredible, named parts, each with a vital job to do. We've explored the philtrum, the lunula, the glabella, and taken a grand tour of the brain, visiting the occipital and frontal lobes, Broca's and Wernicke's areas, the hypothalamus, the thalamus, and the basal ganglia. It's pretty amazing to think about all the intricate machinery working perfectly inside us at this very moment. I hope you found this journey as fascinating as I did. Learning about our own bodies is one of the most empowering things we can do.
Hope you all liked the video. This is one of the many videos which we have posted, but this is the first video where I am using my own real voice. Well, uh, the facts which we have used in this videos are completely original. They are not copied for anywhere. But although we all know that there are many which makes facts based videos, so there might be a time when you feel that you have heard these facts in another video. So we cover a lots and lots of facts in our videos. So it sometimes it becomes problematic, or we can say it becomes an issue for others when they hear the same fact which was shown in another video in someone else's videos, and they hear it in our video too. So just you I'm really sorry for that fact, but I will be trying my real best to use more unique and original facts. From next videos, I will try to introduce more 40 minutes or 1 hour videos, because many of the people are not able to complete 2 hours of this compiled facts. So we will try our best. And this is my first time using my own voice in this video, and uh, making a communication with you all. Please, if you have any of the suggestions for our video, please drop it in the comment section. We will make sure to improve ourselves. We are currently working on the visuals. Right now we are using the generated images because for this many of the facts it's impossible for me currently a solo editor to add more means expressive visuals. So in coming future we will be adding more human like images, stock videos and all. So we all just need your little support for that. Just like the video, make it go, make it get some little views more than what we currently get. Because when once I get the motivation that whatever I am doing is getting some real attention, I can put more time and effort in what I make. It is not that it doesn't means that I'm not giving my all to this, but currently it is a side hustle for me. So thank you all for your time, and please support, subscribe and like the channel.